My guests today are Naya Swami's Jyotish and Devi. They are spiritual directors of Ananda, which is a global spiritual movement of people living the change they want to see in the world. They're emissaries of Paramhansa Yogananda, spiritual master who sparked a revolution of yoga and meditation in the West with his book Autobiography of a Yogi, and they're carrying forward his mission to raise consciousness around the world. First of all, I want to welcome you both, Jyotish and Devi. How are you?
Very well. Thank you, Gail.
Nice to be talking with you today.
Thank you. And I read Autobiography of a Yogi, and I was mesmerized by everything that he went through. I have to tell you, it was hard for me to believe it was all real because it was so out of my atmosphere and out of my own creativity. So you have this movement, Ananda. Tell us exactly what it is.
Well, just as you read the autobiography of a yogi, that has been the starting point for so many people around the world. We've met tens of thousands of people who read that book and had their lives changed. Ananda is based on the teachings. Not only did Yogananda write that book, but in the 1920s, he went around the country. He was the most popular speaker in the entire country at that time. And he talked about yoga and meditation, gave techniques of meditation, many talks on proper living, how to live in a happy way. And so Ananda is based on that. It was founded by a direct disciple of Yogananda. Our founder was named Swami Kriyananda, and he founded the first Ananda community nearly 50 years ago. And I was with him. We were both with him at that time. And since that time, life based on meditation and, as Yogananda put it, high thinking and simple living. Those principles have attracted a lot of people, and our movement has spread around the world.
And Gail, you mentioned that you had trouble with a lot of the miracles in autobiography. Did they really happen? Well, I think Yogananda put them all in there just so to stretch our minds. And I, having known spiritual masters and met them, I believe they're true. But whether you believe them or not is not critical. What's critical is he was showing a perspective on reality, on human reality, on our lives, how we can improve them, how we can live our ideals, how we can have more energy and joy in our life. And I think that's really the message of Autobiography of a Yogi and the message that Ananda is trying to create. So we've been with this, as we've said, for many years, and it really helps to share these teachings and see the impact that they'll have on the world.
Well, it's interesting because even though I had those doubts, the way it was written, I visualized, I could see everything that he was writing about. I could actually see it, and I could feel the pain that he felt, and I could feel the pleasure that he felt, and I could experience his family, all of that. But today, I mean, the world is topsy-turvy, and people are feeling a great uncertainty and anxiety, especially the fact that we've inaugurated a highly controversial president. So how is the present chaos a spiritual opportunity? And you also call it a precious spiritual opportunity. So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, well, let me just echo, first of all, the process you went through. I too had a lot of doubts about the miracles in that book, and yet I could feel the reality and truth of the author, Yogananda. And so that gave me a chance to accept it. But one of the principles that he taught was meditation, one of the techniques that he taught, I should say. And meditation helps us get centered in our own self so that we find within us, as we calm the mind and calm our emotions, we find within us a natural peace and joy and love. And the outside pressures that we're under today, especially as you say, with a controversial president, we've read that people are feeling more stressed now than ever at any time uh, since polls have been taken about it. And so there's a lot of stress going on. But when we're under outside pressure, if we have a tool that helps us deal with that and deal with our own happiness, then that pressure becomes an opportunity. And so we really see the difficulties and turmoils that not only this nation, but the world is in now as an opportunity for people to ask the question, what do I need to change in myself and how can I do that?
And it's so important that this concept you mentioned, Gail, of precious opportunity, spiritual opportunity. Yogananda also brought, and Ananda is living laboratories to demonstrate the effectiveness of his principles, that there are certain attitudes with which we can live our life. The technique of meditation helps us to develop these attitudes, but to have calmness in the face of challenges, to have a little bit of, well, more than a little bit, but to have objectivity when things seem to be totally chaotic, and to be able to affirm our own connectedness with other people. And this, I think, is one of the most important things that for people to bear in mind. The world is trying to, right now, not only a controversial president in America, but leaders everywhere. You see movements, Brexit and so forth, where this populism movement is saying, no, it's just about us. And one of the attitudes of meditation that happens is you think, no man is an island, to quote the poet John Donne. We are all connected. And if I exclude other people's well-being from my own, I can never find happiness.
Well, it's so funny because you did a campaign on April 8th called Be the Change. And it's interesting because I just came back from this weekend where I went to an event called Be the Change, but it was totally different. It was people kind of finding themselves in their businesses and learning how to structure things and how to put their message out into the public and so forth. But you were doing it so that you wanted people to pledge their meditation hours so that together you radiated 1 million hours of peace and harmony. How did that work?
Well, first of all, the Be the Change campaign is based on the principles of Mahatma Gandhi or statements that he said, which was, if we want to see a change in the world, that change has to start with us. And so in this case, if we want to see peace and harmony in the world, rather than going out and rallying or fighting or being mad at people because that isn't happening, we have to begin by finding that peace and change within ourselves and then radiating it to other people. And the best tool for finding that is meditation. So we're asking people who do meditate, doesn't matter the type of meditation or organization or any of that. We're asking people who do meditate and who want to see peace and harmony in the world to pledge a certain number of hours toward that goal and actually work with their own self, their own feelings, their own expressions, so that they become more peaceful and more harmonious, and therefore help affect that change in the world.
And Gail, it was launched, this Be the Change campaign, on April 8th, but it's ongoing. So it wasn't like it was that day. And if any of your listeners want to participate, they can just go either to our website, Ananda, ANANDA.org, or meditationpledge.com. And either one of these will help if you're interested to sign up and add your energy, your aspiration for peace in the world, then people can join. But many thousands of people have already signed up to answer your question.
Wow, that's fabulous. So I know there are many listeners who do meditate. I have a difficult time meditating because when I sit down and meditate, 90 other things come into my head. And of course, people say, well, that's the way it's supposed to be. And it just kind of sorts itself out. Just sit there and it'll all work itself out. Uh, so, what are some of the practical ways that you uh, suggest people meditate?
Well, first of all, I've written a book on it called How to Meditate, and it's sold over 250,000 copies. So that has helped a lot of people get started with meditation. But the first thing to accept is that meditation is really very, very easy and very simple. It's not complex at all. And so some of the difficulties comes because it is so simple. But really all a person needs to do is start with a place that's quiet and that they can relax. And it's better to sit in an upright position because relaxation when you're prone is associated with sleep. So sit in an upright position, begin by relaxing the body, and then try to shift from thinking mode to observing mode. And so you can observe a number of things. You can observe one of the most common techniques is simply to observe your breath, the inhalation and the exhalation. And as you become concentrated in the observing mode, it tends to quiet the mind down. And so that concentration then leads to the mind becoming quieter, more inward, and you begin to feel then some of your own deeper qualities, among which are peace and love and joy. And as you feel those qualities, try to get more in tune with that quality as opposed to the thinking process. And by this means, your consciousness naturally expands.
And Gail, what you said, my mind just wanders all over. This is a very common experience, but really meditation is learning, it's self-exploration in the sense of you're learning to become aware of higher faculties that everybody has, to go beyond the conscious mind. Yogananda talked about the superconscious mind. And this conscious mind is our rational thinking mind with which we normally deal with, function with. But the superconscious mind is also a part of our makeup. And that's what we're trying to tap into. So we start with the conscious mind where all the thoughts are. But then by concentrating and stilling the thoughts, and the more you do it, the more easy it is to become aware of it. It's like any skill, when you learn anything from art to sports to cooking. At first, you're not sure about it, but then you make it your own. And that's when you really start feeling the benefits of meditation and becoming aware of your own superconscious abilities.
Well, you talk about something I'm not sure I'm pronouncing it. Is it Kriya or Kriya Yoga? Kriya Yoga?
Kriya Yoga.
Kriya Yoga. And you say that a lot of people think of yoga as doing physical stretching, which is true, but that Kriya Yoga is a meditation practice. So I'm not sure what that's about. I haven't heard of that before.
Okay, well, this is a technique that Paramahansa Yogananda taught. In fact, he said that it's the highest technique because it works with our own nervous system. And he said that our nervous system is the true altar of our consciousness. So I mentioned the technique of watching the breath. Kriya Yoga actually adds the ability to control the movement of energy by working with the breath. And so by controlling the inner energy or the life force, one might say,